Over the past 24 hours, something interesting has unfolded in Ukraine. Western media is excited. They're kind of bubbly, actually, about it. It's actually kind of funny to watch all of this. Is the underdog Ukraine right now with all of their U.S. and NATO weapons? Are they finally launching their first major offensive against Russia? Remember, heretofore, they have not launched an offensive, a organized offensive against Russia, right? It's been defensive. They have not done that. Even with all of the weapons and all of the money and all of the 8 years of training from NATO forces, training everyone in that country, right? The CIA planted there, special forces, everything. No advancement, no offensive. So is Russia on the run now overnight? Just watch how CNBC's anchor of record, Shepard Smith, puts it with a smile. Watch.
A turn in the war? Well, Ukrainian forces are now on the offensive as they fight to take back the Russian invaders in a major strategic city. The Ukrainians ramping up attacks around Kherson. That's a key city in southern Ukraine that fell to Putin's troops way back in March. Russian state media report the Ukrainians have been pounding a vital bridge with rockets. It's a critical river crossing. You destroy it, that would cut off a crucial supply line for the Russians and an escape route for Russian troops in Kherson, according to British intelligence. In recent days, we've seen the Ukrainians blow up Russian ammo depots near Kherson. It's suspected that they're using advanced long-range rocket systems supplied by the United States to strike those targets. Today, the Pentagon announcing it's sending to Ukraine even more of the HIMARS rocket systems, as they call them. Ukrainian officials say those weapons have been a real game changer and sent the Russians into what they call panic mode.
Okay, right. Panic mode. Really? Panic mode? That sort of contradicts, actually, what General Mark Milley just said literally yesterday, on the same day as this report. That is that this is a war of attrition, and we haven't yet lost eastern Ukraine. We haven't really made any gains. We just haven't lost it yet. Here's the general. Listen.
So the bottom line is the cost is very high. The gains are very low. There is a grinding war of attrition that is occurring in the Luhansk, Donbass region, the two oblasts of Donbass. And to answer your question about is the Donbass lost? No, it's not lost yet.
No, it's not lost yet, but we're going to continue to send more of those long-range weapons, as you're seeing on your screen, right? We're going to continue to send more of those.
The cost is high and the gains are low. Yeah. We're putting a lot into it and not really making a lot of progress.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Well, and these are the weapons that they just said that we're not sending, right? Didn't they just say they weren't sending them?
Oh, no, now they say they are sending them. So these long-range advanced weapons that we're just showing there on the screen. Again, these are the high, not those specifically.
The bottom line is.
Sorry, I clipped at the end there like additional video of it to talk over, but my fault for not letting everyone know about that ahead of time. Anyway, so those long-range weapons specifically now they're going to be funneling another round of these long-range HIMARS weapons into Ukraine. About another 4 of them or so. We've now admitted that we're going to send in there, right? And so the idea is, though, that this would be a game changer. But according to Ukrainian authorities this afternoon, the only way it would actually change the game, according to Ukraine, is if they had 100 of them. 100 of them. So they're getting 4 of them now. They're getting additional 4.
That is not 100.
No.
That's long off that mark. Later in the Shepard Smith piece, they talk about how many Ukrainians are fleeing their cities and they're doing so on bicycles. And then the reporter goes in and she sort of makes her interpretation and says, well, a lot of them had these white ribbons wrapped around their bicycles, which they hoped to show the Russian army peace, which is interesting. And I thought, okay, but that's your interpretation. Do you know that for a fact? Because the Russian army wears white armbands to show that so are they showing that they're Russian, or are they, again, this is all open for interpretation. And if you don't know, right, we don't know.
Well, here's what's not open for interpretation. The propaganda is so thick that you can cut it with a knife. Yesterday in Washington, Olena Zelenska, that's her name, Zelenska, not Zelensky. It's Olena Zelenska. That's Zelensky's wife. Okay, she's the first lady of Ukraine. She was in Washington. She met privately, first of all, with Jill Biden, the first lady. They met at the White House privately, where according to the White House officials, we assured her that we would be sending more weapons. So then she goes in front of Congress. She gives an address in front of Congress, and this is what she had to say, asking for more weapons. Watch.
Я звертаюся до вас від імені усіх загиблих.
I am asking for something now I would never want to ask. I am asking for weapons. Weapons that would not be used to wage a war on somebody else's land, but to protect one's home and the right to wake up alive in that home. I'm asking for air defense systems in order for rockets not to kill children in their strollers.
I mean, okay, so that's what we're doing now. Like, that's what we're gonna do. Like, that's how we're gonna lay this out. We need you to send us more weapons.
At least she's not just wearing a T-shirt.
She makes it well. Okay, but let's give credit where credit's due. She makes a beautiful. She. I don't know what I was gonna say.
She makes a beautiful what?
Well. She makes a nice presentation, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's a
very
sales
heartfelt. It's heartfelt, and she's a good
It's like
speaker.
at the beginning of the show, we do a clip of the girl that's begging for help with the Iranian or the Iraqi babies. It's very heartfelt, but it's
funny you say that. That was exactly when I heard that. Like, we got to stop killing babies in strollers. Like, that's what I heard, right? And that's when I heard that, I immediately thought of Iraq and the incubators, right? Which was a total fabrication and a total lie, of course, and then ended up coming out later as finding out that we know the whole scam there in Iraq.
Well, and I want to say one more thing before, and I got to go, but like, it's kind of ironic that Putin says, don't send any of these long-range missiles, right? And then all of a sudden, the next day we're saying, hey, guess what? We're sending long-range missiles. We're sending the exact thing that he just told us not to send. And not only that, we're sending 4 of them, but now Ukraine wants 100 of them. It's like, how much more provocative do you just keep provoking this man who's telling you exactly what he's going to do, and he's done exactly what said he was going to do. Why would you keep doing that?
Yes, but I think it's important for us to acknowledge that, sure, children are dying, men are dying, women are dying, right? This is a war. This is a war that involves blood. And so support for it on any side means you support some kind of necessary dying. And that is not our stance here. We are absolute peacemongers on this show.
So Scott Ritter, former UN weapons inspector, says that Europe is going to pay the price for these weapons now, these additional HIMARS that we're sending in there, these additional long-range weapons that we're sending into Ukraine. We can't track them, as he points out. We can't track them. And now they're sort of scrambling right now to try to figure out a way to track them. And he says, again, these are all being sold, or many of them are being sold on the black market. Listen.
The world is waking up to the fact that we're not just arming Ukraine, we're arming every terrorist organization in the world, anybody with a grudge, anybody who wants to use these weapons to carry out political assassinations or just plain murder. Now the United States, together with NATO, is actively working with Ukraine to try and come up with a way to account for these weapons. But it's too late. The cat's out of the bag. The weapons are on the market. And at some point in time, the United States and Europe are going to pay the price for the folly of turning over to the most corrupt nation in Europe some of the most advanced weapon systems known to mankind.
And that corruption was pretty well on display this week, right?
Yes, there was 2 senior politicians inside of the Zelensky government who were not fired, but asked to resign and then voted out of parliament, sort of highlighting the fact that there continues to be corruption inside Ukraine. The West knew about this until it pretended that it didn't. And in fact, regarding tracking those weapons, just last week, there were senior officials inside of the Pentagon saying a lot of times these weapons are sent to Poland and then they meet somebody at the Ukrainian border and they are being put in private cars, you guys. So talking about...
And private trucks, like a flatbed truck.
Some sort of official, military vehicles and some not so much, right? So someone like me could get in the carpool line and just say, yeah, load it up.
Load it up. I'm here with my pickup truck. Please Fill up my truck. I am member of military. Please, I'm telling you.
Oh, just move the car seat over. I'll take some. Sure.
Right.
In the back of my mom-mobile.
Move, honey, move the Captain Crunch. Move that stuff over and the toilet paper we picked up at Costco. Put HIMARS in my back trunk.
Your accent's ridiculous.
I don't even know what accent that is, to be honest with you.
You need to.
I just like the idea of somebody like stuffing billions of dollars of explosive like short range missiles and surface to air missiles in the back of like a Renault Encore, like a Renault hatchback or something like that. Just tossing it in there.
And the back,
like, no, it's good. It's good.
The back axle just breaks. Like, oh man.
And I put one of those,
Take one of those javelins
I'll just
out of there.
rip a red flag and then tie it on the end in case, so anybody knows.
Right. It's too long. It's too long for this car. Please, police officers, do not pull me over. I know I have a couple of javelins that are sticking out of the back of the truck. Don't pull me over until I get home.
It's okay. They have an American flag on them. They were sent to an official capacity. I can have those.
Ix in the chat says Clayton could be a Slav with a bit more accent practice. I'll try. I'll work on it.
No.
Someone else says that I need to shave, that my Sonny Crockett look from Miami Vice isn't cutting it. I hate shaving. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I do it occasionally. I do it every few days. But so this was a major report this afternoon that NATO doesn't trust Ukraine with HIMARS operating advanced artillery themselves. This is a stunning report. According to information received from sources in the Ukrainian armed forces, at least 2 HIMARS are operating in the southern direction, with the remaining 10 dispersed in the northern arc in the area of active hostilities in the Donbass. The crews of the artillery installations are manned by out-of-staff NATO military personnel, it says, and guarded. I'll even show you this quote here on my screen, Philip, if you want. The crews of the artillery installations are manned by out-of-staff NATO military personnel and guarded by private military contractors close to the Pentagon. So they don't trust them to even be using the equipment that we're sending to them.
Well, I guess that's one way to track it, is attach it to a person that you do trust, right?
Here's one way to track it. Don't give it to them.
You didn't want to slap an RFID tag on it. So instead, it always stays with Jim here.
Right. It's on loan to you for the afternoon.
And we trust Jim.
So we'll be watching it. So again, this is NATO military personnel. This is outstaffed career NATO military personnel. Further, the source indicated that targets are selected using U.S. military satellites, and that we did know this, of course, that the HIMARS operate in a shoot and scoot manner, quickly changing their positions after firing to avoid return fire, and then they're never returning to the positions where they've previously been deployed. So as one source in the military that I spoke to, a former NATO pilot, told me, yeah, you absolutely need you need boots on the ground, and you need eyes that are actually registering targets. Mm-hmm. It's not like back in the day where you'd paint them with a laser, like we painted the target. No, we now actually have to provide those coordinates, and those coordinates need to come from somewhere. And of course, we know that they're coming from the United States. But now we're not even letting them use our equipment. We are there actively using the equipment. Like, this should be absolutely troubling to people. Like, make no mistake about it. Like, we are in a war with Russia. We are there actively in a war. We're just using their land to do it. It's a proxy war. This is exactly what it is.
Yes. And so, it's interesting, this sort of giddiness about just bombing a bridge, but you obviously, according to those images, haven't bombed it so much that pedestrians can't cross it in their,
Right.
That's a strange little bit of it. And it's hard for us as news consumers to understand exactly what's going on if the media wants to just get super excited about maybe one bridge, while Pentagon officials are telling us we actually don't feel like we're making ground at all.
I want to thank our show sponsor over at Masterworks. Now, as you will have doubtless been informed, the economic outlook is, well, pretty darn bleak. Record high inflation will trigger the Fed to raise interest rates and in turn force the economy into a recession. So now we have to brace ourselves for a weakening dollar and big economic downturn. Is there a way to protect yourself from both with one investment? Yes, there is. So I did some research and found something really fascinating. You have real assets, the ones like gold and real estate, huge fans of those. They're not only uncorrelated to equities and fixed income, they're also far less volatile. This gives you the opportunity to get bigger returns with less risk, but there's one real asset that has potentially the best risk return profile you can find. And 99% of investors are completely overlooking it. This may shock you, but I'm talking about fine artwork. Yes. Not many people realize that art is a powerful, financial asset. I want you to take a moment and look at this heat map. I thought this was incredible. You can pause the video, you can take a look at, rewind it if you want to, and just look at the process and how what this chart is actually telling us. Look in green right there, right? You see Apple in red, right? Apple in red. You see Amazon in red. You see Microsoft in red. Crypto isn't on here at all. But look over there. Look at that giant green box, right? While everyone else is down 20 to 30, 40%, art is up 32% for the year, largely thanks to its resilience. These gains aren't anything new. This market has outpaced the S&P 500 by 164% over the last 25 years and has even shown stronger performance when inflation is above 3% during periods of monetary tightening. So when I discovered Masterworks, I had to reach out and partner with them because, in case you didn't know, Masterworks is the premier art investing platform. Get this, they acquire paintings by top-tier artists like Picasso, Basquiat, Banksy. They then file these things as public offerings with the SEC. That's right. So you can buy shares of paintings worth tens of millions of dollars. When thinking about new platforms, track record is one of the most important things that I look at. Since its inception, Masterworks has sold 3 paintings, each returning over 30% net internal rate of return to investors. That means if you invested $100,000, you would have made a cool $30,000, right? Over $500 million has been invested with them, and more than 450,000 people use Masterworks. And there's a wait list to get started. But since I partnered with Masterworks, my listeners get a special deal. You can skip the line. You can skip the wait list by clicking the link in my description. You have to go to the description of this video, click the link, and start diversifying and preparing in just a few clicks. Our thanks to Masterworks.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. You know, we've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.